Hello, today I'm going to be doing a review on Someone We Know by Shari Lapena, and that is how you pronounce it, I checked. So this book is 292 pages long and it was published July 30th, 2019, so almost exactly a year ago. Quickly, what it's about is a woman named Amanda Pierce is murdered, and she was kind of a flirt, so there are a lot of men who are suspects. I read this book in 24 hours. It's definitely a page turner. So let's just get into a little bit of what it's about. There will be spoilers, so I won't spoil anything until later, but you've been warned. There's a big cast of characters. I had to write them all down to remember who everyone is. But the main character, I would say, is probably Olivia. She is the mother of Raleigh, I think is how you say his name, and her husband's name is Paul. So in the beginning, we find out that Raleigh, whatever, has been breaking into people's houses just for fun, not taking anything, but sometimes he snoops on their computers because he's really good with computers. He doesn't get caught, but his mom kind of figures it out on accident and says, "We're never doing this again." And he agrees. He's like, "I should never have done it in the first place. It's stupid." And against their lawyer and the husband, Paul's wishes, she writes apology letters to some of the people that whose houses he broke into anonymously, and which is a bad idea because now people had no idea that Raleigh had been breaking in, and now of course they know because they get this anonymous letter in the mail saying, "My son broke into your house, so sorry." So that kind of sparks a lot of drama in this book. And then Olivia's best friend's name is Glenda. I know. Pretty sure Glenda is the name of one of the witches in Wizard of Oz. Her husband's name is Keith, and they have a son, Adam, who is Raleigh's age, who has a drinking problem, and he's 16, so that's kind of upsetting. And then we have a neighbor, Carmine. Carmine is one of the people who Raleigh confesses to breaking into their house and receives an anonymous letter, and she basically goes door to door telling people, "I've been broken into, did you get an anonymous letter? Like, keep your doors and windows locked at night," whatever. And then we have Amanda and Robert Pierce. Now, first thing that happens in this book, like right away when you open the book, is that Amanda is murdered. And then we have Becky and Larry Harris. There's a lot of characters in this book. Becky and Larry are neighbors to Amanda and Robert. And then finally we have Detective Webb and Detective Moen. Now, here come the spoilers. So, we find out that Robert and Becky, so Robert is the murdered person's husband, and Becky is his neighbor, that they've been having an affair. And then we later find out that her husband Larry and his wife Amanda were also having an affair. So it's kind of, the two neighbors were, oh, that was a bad visual. Two neighbors are, yeah. I mean, I know it's not real, but they do a lot of victim blaming in this book. They kind of make it seem like, well, Amanda was such a SLUT that, you know, no wonder she was murdered. It's like, excuse me. So that's a small issue I had. They definitely put a lot of the blame on Amanda for being brutally murdered. Basically, this entire book is the investigation. I give this a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's super good. Right now it has a 3.93 on Goodreads, which is pretty high. I had a few things I'd like to talk about in the review. Okay, let's talk about the good first. The good, very, very quick read. Like, I couldn't put it down. It was super good that way. I loved that there were a lot of twists. He always has to do this. I don't know why. It's basically people finding out secrets, but it happens every chapter, it seems like. And what happens is the detectives are talking to all of these people, all these suspects who knew Amanda or knew her husband Robert or whatever. And every chapter, it seems like, you know, a big secret comes out. Because first we find out that Larry was sleeping with Amanda, and then we find out that Becky was sleeping with Robert, and then we find out that Keith was also sleeping with Amanda. And we find that out from Raleigh, who broke into his computer and found this out. And none of them are ever telling the truth. It seems like there are almost too many twists in this book because they happen one after another after another. And even when these people are being interviewed by police, they're almost never being honest. So, and this becomes a pattern. So it's like, and especially in the beginning, because there are so many characters, sometimes I'm like, wait, who's Larry again? Like, and you know, they tell the police one thing, and then they tell their spouse yeah, I wasn't exactly telling the whole truth, and then they go back and tell the detectives the actual truth, and then so that's kind of the whole book is just people lying and then us finding out later that they're lying. I mean, there are twists up until the very end where we think, oh my god, Glenda did it, that's weird, and then we find out like 2 pages from the end, like, wait, her son did it and she helped him cover it up. Like, wow. So up until the very end, you don't know what's gonna happen, which is fun, but it gets a little old when that's kind of all that's happening, if you know what I mean. We do kind of end on a little cliffhanger, which makes me wonder, is there gonna be a next one? And as far as I can tell, there's not. So Amanda had a burner phone that Robert found and buried it in the backyard because I think he thought it would make him look guilty or something. And the way the book ends is that he goes to dig it up and it's not there anymore. He suspects that it was his neighbor / woman he was having an affair with, Becky, who found it. This is the last line of the book. He rises to his feet, trying to control his fury, and he stares across the fence at Becky's empty house, plotting his next move. Not sure I like that ending. It's a little too like, okay, maybe he didn't murder her, but he's still a dangerous asshole. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to think about him, you know what I mean? And then, okay, another last thing I'm probably gonna say, because this book is actually really good. When they find out that Adam did it, and Adam is 16. So Adam just brutally murdered a woman with a hammer, okay? And the detectives are like, well, you're underage, you'll probably go to juvie for a few years, and then you'll be out by the time you're 18. I'm a huge true crime fan, and I have listened to enough podcasts, seen enough documentaries to know that that probably would not happen in real life. Like, those 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin who stabbed their friends because of Slender Man, pretty sure they were tried as adults and got like life in prison. So it's hard to believe for me that this kid would murder someone in cold blood and then just like, you'll be out in 2 years. Like, that wouldn't happen, I hope. She's written a few other books. The one that I have on my list that I want to read is called A Stranger in the House, I think, and that one got really good reviews on Goodreads. So yeah, if you like murder mysteries, I would say this is just like a tiny step below like Gillian Flynn level, because it is a little short. It's kind of a shorter book, so I feel like it almost doesn't give you enough time to get super invested, because like I'm like getting into it and then it ends, So like there's a sweet spot for me for murder mysteries for like how long they should be and how in-depth they should be. And for me, Gillian Flynn kills it every time in that department. But anyway, Someone We Know by Shari Lapena, I would recommend. Pretty good book. Yeah, that's it.